Hey, Falcons and NFL fans. Welcome to another episode of Atlanta Sports Limited's NFL Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Chris Mitherman producing. I think he'll be with us in a few minutes. But we have another great show for you today. A really big matchup for the Falcons, as they're going to be the rest of the season if they keep winning. Big win against the Jets last week on the road. Saw some things that we liked, Tom. Some things, still left some things to be desired. But you got to win, and you're still in first place, back at 500, first place in the NFC South, and really first place on the line this week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to town.
Yeah, exactly. Lose this game, you're back to 6-7. You're tied with the Buccaneers for the top of the South. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought last week I wish the Falcons had brought it a little tougher against the Jets. However, that Jets defense has made a lot of quarterbacks look bad this year. So don't be discouraged by the way the Falcons played. They got out of there with a win. They got out of there against a really good defense. So, I know it didn't look dominant, but it was a tough. They played tough and they stayed tough. And that's all you can ask. Isn't that right, Zozo?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
She wants to be on camera, but she doesn't want to look at the camera. So.
And so much has been made of Desmond Ritter's, home and away record. He had won a road game against the Buccaneers a few weeks ago, but just his second road win. So that was another obstacle that you kind of checked off the list of things you wanted to see. Ritter didn't play great, but they did get.
As I say, it's the Jets. They've made a lot of quarterbacks look bad this season. So it's not – they shouldn't feel bad about the fact that they didn't put up a lot of points because you don't have to against the Jets. I would have liked to have seen it. I know last week I was talking about I wanted to see them make a big splash.
Yeah.
And see them really assert themselves against a bad football team. But, again, if the Jets had any kind of offense, they would be a playoff team. That any kind of offense, anybody, back there at quarterback besides Zach Wilson or Tim Boyle, they'd be a playoff team. So don't feel bad about the way last week's game went.
Yeah, and we're going to look ahead to the Buccaneers matchup. We're hoping that Mercedes-Benz Stadium is real loud tomorrow.
Absolutely.
With the division, first place on the line in the division. Hope that the fans can help the Falcons get to a victory. We also have Tom's picks against the spread coming up a little bit later, and we'll have some prize picks for you to use as well if you see fit. We also want to hear what prize picks players you may be looking at this week.
Exactly. Put it in your comments. Tell us who you're looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you haven't started with prize picks, it's not too late to get started. Download the app. When you do, use our promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So some free money for you to get started in prize picks. And we'll have some recommendations for you, as I said, a little bit later on.
Yep, plenty of ways to play. They even got a couple of new NFL categories up that are interesting that fans might want to take a look at. It's called NFL Sprints. Basically, player totals, player props for the last 4 weeks of the season.
Huh.
So very interesting to see. There's a lot of interesting choices. So take a look. I like that concept of NFL sprints. That's pretty good.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I didn't see that in the app this morning, but I'm on it right now, and yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out a little bit later. The last four
games.
Last 4 games. I am wondering. There's this asterisk up here. It says players must play in all 4 games listed in order to be eligible. Does that mean if he gets hurt next week, is that just kind of null and void?
I think that takes the player off the board, kind of invalidates your bet. They're not gonna ding you for having a player getting injured. So, Yeah, I saw that disclaimer too, but I think that just means that if you want to win with that player, he's got to play the last 4 games.
Yeah, that would make sense and would protect you against an injury, which
Against
is
injury,
nice.
yeah.
They don't protect you for single week entries, and that can be rough at times when a guy's doing well. We joke about it, but it's possible when you have the Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes. I think they've had freebies with those guys where over under half a passing yard, and there's always a chance that he gets hurt on the first play of the game, like Aaron Rodgers did.
Aaron Rodgers.
That there's no protection for that. So for this though, there will be. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like a fun concept. As I say, I'm going to look at it a little bit later and see if there's anything that jumps out at me.
Well, Gary has a question for us right off the bat. He wants to talk about the quarterback situation for the Falcons. Is he the guy for Atlanta going forward? I think that's going to be determined over the last 4 or 5 weeks here, Tom, is what my answer would be right now. But what are your thoughts right now on Ridder heading into the matchup against the Buccaneers?
Well, as I say, I'm not as – Ridder's had some rough games. I've been down on Ridder this year at times.
Yeah.
Overall, you got to look at the guys, especially Matt Mike had something this last week about Ridder's fourth quarter numbers that I think people should go and take a look at. He's got incredible fourth quarter numbers. When the game's on the line, the moment is not too big for him. And that's always nice to see out of a quarterback. That's always something I look for out of a quarterback. Is the moment too big for him? And no, the moment doesn't seem too big for Ridder most of the time. So, yeah, he doesn't have the passing numbers I'd like to see, especially with the receivers he has available to him. But he has a little problem with touch throws. But these are things you can also work on and get better. He's got great instincts, and that's something you can't teach. So I think if you try to teach great instincts, you end up handcuffing a quarterback and making him think that, having him thinking instead of reacting out on the field. So I like his instincts. I think he could be better. Of course he could be better. But he's basically only played one full NFL season now, as far as experience.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was last week or may have been the week before we were talking about the Tom Brady comment about mediocrity in the NFL. And you brought up the point of this not being a golden era for NFL quarterbacks. And I don't want to look into the draft yet. I know people are already, halfway through the season, people are already talking about, well, my team's out of it, so we're going to look to the NFL draft. I get that. And the whole idea of we need to NFL media websites want to create page views and keep people interested. And so then you look for the next thing. I'm not there yet looking at the NFL draft and the incoming draft class. It's supposed to be a big quarterback class from what I've heard. But I do kind of wonder, with this not being a golden era of NFL quarterbacks, does somebody like Ridder maybe get more time to show what he can do, maybe be a little bit more patient? Have we learned anything from like Ryan Tannehill getting a second wind in Tennessee, or Geno Smith coming on and playing well with the Seattle Seahawks, that some of these guys do take a little bit of time? The risk of that, I guess, of course, is there are plenty of instances where, Zach Wilson has gotten lots of chances and never has proven that he's going to be able to do it. I
think Zach Wilson's done. He's finished. Even if you give him 2 or 3 more chances in other cities, Zach Wilson just does not have it.
Well, there's such a market for backup quarterbacks. He's going to be somewhere, right?
Hey, Blaine Gabbert's made a career out of being a backup quarterback.
Sure.
If Blaine Gabbert can make a career out of being a backup quarterback, anybody can.
Right. So, yeah. There's just not a lot of quarterback play out there right now. And
No, there isn't.
backups play. It seems like they're playing a lot this year. I know they do every year, but it really does seem like backup quarterback has been a very popular position this year. So
It is. You almost have to have one these days.
Yeah, you really do. You really do. With the long season,
Right.
18 weeks now, preseason. Yeah, they're going to play. Even a couple years ago with the Chiefs, even
right.
Though Mahomes made every start, Chad Henne went in and had a really important drive.
Yes, he did.
So,
sure did.
Backup quarterback's very important. But anyway, for Ritter, Pantera, I absolutely agree with this. That like the last 5 games is an audition for 2024.
Yeah.
And I think if he shows any signs of improvement, I think he's the guy going forward. I guess to go back and answer Gary's question. But I would rather circle back and answer that question at the end of the season, because I think these last 5 games are going to be very important in determining whether or not he's the guy. And quite frankly, isn't this going to determine whether or not Arthur Smith is the guy? I don't want to say Smith is on the hot seat necessarily, but like if things just fall apart for the Falcons, could they make a coaching change? I think it's possible. And then the discussion around Ritter is completely different if there's a different coach for the Falcons.
Well, considering we've talked about these last 5 games before, and if the Falcons fall apart, if they can't, make it during this stretch run, yeah, I think Ritter's going to pay for it. I think Smith's going to pay for it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that. I'm not predicting that to happen. I'm just saying,
right.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible this team's been inconsistent. I think they're going to continue to win some, lose some, and hopefully win this division. But it's possible that we could see a downturn like we saw in the middle of the season.
Yeah, Colts and Saints are still going to be tough games. I think the rest of them are winnable. So, that's the thing. If they lose to the Bucs, if they have a rough game against the Panthers, then you got to start worrying that right now you expect this team, the way they played, the way the defense has played, to make the playoffs, to get there. If they don't, a lot of fans are really going to be upset.
Right.
And if Ritter doesn't play well down the stretch, he doesn't show that calm, cool, collected type play that I think he's shown so far this year, then I think you are looking at improving the quarterback position. Yeah, because you're not going to draft one. You got to be able to find one in a trade. And there aren't many trade possibilities. So it's going to be interesting to see how that.
You're saying you don't think the Falcons would draft a quarterback if Ritter plays poorly down the stretch?
Well, it depends on where they finish up. There are some quarterbacks in this class. I have a feeling that they're going to end up depending on where they finish. And right now they're 6-6. So they're probably going to be in the middle of the draft, somewhere in the middle of the draft. It's tough to find a quarterback there. You want to be in the top 10. That's where you find your best quarterbacks. And it's not impossible to find a quarterback.
No,
we looked at it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Beyond the third round or beyond, we looked at all the quarterbacks who were drafted in positions behind Ritter, and that's a pretty impressive list. But you find a lot more Super Bowl and playoff quarterbacks in your top 10. So, and the Falcons aren't going to be there. So they're going to might have to look at the trade market. I don't know who's going to be available, but they might have to look at the trade market or take their chances on somebody or see if they can trade up.
Yeah, I mean, I just took a quick glance at the 2021 draft when the Falcons chose not to take a quarterback and 5 quarterbacks went in the top 15. You had 3 right off the bat, 1, 2, 3, and then your Justin Fields at number 11, Mac Jones at number 15. I think 2 years ago, we could make the argument, you can find a quarterback in the teens.
Yes.
Justin Fields and Mac Jones, great examples.
Right.
Well, now, especially Mac Jones, is like nobody really would be clamoring for their team to have Mac Jones right now with how much he's struggling. And
Yeah,
it looks like the Bears might restart with a new quarterback. Maybe. I don't know. But
it's possible. People, it's like half of Chicago is solidly in Justin Fields' corner. Half of Chicago thinks he needs to go after the season. So it's really rough. As everybody has their own opinion. Well, Chicago hasn't seen a good starting quarterback since Sid Luckman. So,
yeah.
I mean, at least the Falcons have had Matt Ryan for so many years. But
right. Yeah. Tony's with us. Tony says hi. Baby's good, Tony.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. He says, what's poppin', Tom?
Hey, doing all right, Tony. Hanging in there.
And he says that he hopes the Falcons win the South, hold on to the number 4 seed in the NFC, can play Dallas, and then run the football down their throats in the playoff game.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that would be fun. Let's see where the Dallas Cowboys are. They're 11th in the league in rushing on defense and rushing yards per attempt. So, yeah, I mean, they're a team that you can move the ball on, but you got to shut down their offense too.
Yeah.
It's a pretty darn good offense. So, right now, the Dallas Cowboys are number 3 on my statistical power rankings. So don't undersell the Cowboys.
Right. And I'm not even sure they're going to be there in the number 5 seed. I don't know what to make of the Eagles at this point. Like, I want to say that they are championship caliber team. Well, of course they're a championship caliber team, but they're a champion, almost won the Super Bowl last year. And maybe they're one of those teams where they don't care if it looks pretty or whatever. And they're just going to just keep winning games. But they really got to take it to them last week. And because they were kind of living on the edge before that,
Yes.
and then they got to go on the road now and play Dallas. I'm very curious to see how they respond. Are they going to respond and beat Dallas as they have the last few years and again assert themselves as the king of that division, or is this Dallas's time? Dallas has their opening right now.
They do.
The Eagles are on the mat. They can't let them get up.
Yeah, they got knocked down badly. Well, San Francisco was looking for a revenge game, so they were mad about getting knocked out of the playoffs last year. But the Niners are damn good. So, yeah, it's going to be wild to see. I'm looking forward to this Cowboys-Eagles game because it's going to say a lot. I don't think the Eagles have been as good as they were last year. Definitely not on defense. I think Jalen Hurts is kind of coming to his own as a quarterback. Jalen Hurts has become a very good NFL quarterback.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and a 2nd-round pick. So, I mean, there's an example of a guy that wasn't a first rounder, wasn't highly touted out of the draft, and became a franchise quarterback. So you can find them not in the first round. They're rare, but it's possible.
Right. You can find them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony brings up a good.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I want to wait and see on. I know the Cowboys look great most weeks, but you're right, Tony. That schedule that they've had, the teams that they've beaten the Giants, the Jets, the Patriots, the Chargers, the Rams, the Giants again, the Panthers, the Commanders, and the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are the only team that are even 500 of those.
Well, Seahawks aren't 500 now.
They're 6-7 now.
6-6. They're at 500.
So okay, that's what I was saying. They're at 500.
They've only played 2 teams that are over 500 at this point in the season, and they've lost both of them. So
yeah, and well, in the San Francisco game wasn't close.
No,
at all.
Oh, God. But and that's the same problem I have with the Dolphins. they've beaten up on a lot of teams this year, but I think they're 0-3 against teams that are above 500. So, yeah, I mean, you can look as good as you want against, and part of being a playoff team is you got to beat the bottom feeders. That's part of putting together a playoff record. But you got to have a couple of victories against the solid teams on your schedule, and the Cowboys really haven't had any. So this is going to be a good barometer for the Cowboys to see exactly where they are this season. Can they beat a quality team? Can they beat the defending NFC champs? And, got them at home, but they have a lot of statistical advantages right now, but Philadelphia always seems to find a way to win too. So that's been a rough. I've counted out Philadelphia in some games this year and regretted it. It's tough because they do find a way to win.
Tony's got a bold claim for the Cowboys. He's saying they're going to lose 4 in a row.
Oh, wow. It could be, Tony. Again, they have not faced teams above 500. All those 4 teams are above 500. And they're going to have to win at least 2 of them to convince me that they are a Super Bowl team. So, that's the thing. They could lose 4 in a row. There are plenty of teams that have great records during a season that cannot beat a team over 500. And it ends up showing up in the playoffs. That's why I'm not high on Miami yet. Because, you got to beat teams that are – you can't look bad against those teams too.
Right, yeah. So the Dallas-Miami matchup will be interesting because you're 2 teams that have or have good records but haven't done well against good teams. I like Detroit. I want Detroit to do well just because I think it would be great for the NFL to see the Lions make a deep playoff run and wouldn't hurt my page views over at heavy.com. But I think Dallas is going to beat Detroit, Tony. So Detroit's that game's still 3 weeks away, so a lot can change. Injuries are going to happen. But Detroit's defense has really struggled over the last week. They're not going to be able to stop Dak at home. Yeah. And Detroit could win a shootout for sure. They have the offense to do that. But my money's on Dak and the Dallas defense there.
In that game right now, you'd have to say that because, as I say, Dallas is 3rd in my power rankings. They show up statistically. They are as good as any team in the NFL. Again, look at the competition though, and that does make a difference. So
I'm going to ask you some questions about your power rankings. Who's number 1?
Yes.
49ers.
Yeah. 49ers.
Where are the Lions? I'm curious. Where are the Detroit Lions?
Number 7.
7. Okay.
So
I think that's fair.
Been solid so far this year. Yeah.
Where are the Falcons and Buccaneers?
Falcons are 19th. Buccaneers are 20th.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why this game is going to be very interesting to watch play out. Because they are statistically, as I break it down, I use 28 different statistics. Then some of them are, of my own making. Some of them I picked up in other places. And, but they all seem to, when you add them all up, they add up to playoff teams. And that's why the Falcons, I still think, need to play better football to be not only make the playoffs, but kind of make noise in the playoffs. Because right now, I think they're a first round out. So, depending on who they play.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of time to affect who they play because you got to look at, let's see what the rankings are right now. The Rams are sitting at 6-6. Seahawks are 6-6. Vikings and Packers are in the playoffs right now, but they're both at 6-6. So, there's a lot of ways this playoff picture can still play out.
Right, but if you're the Falcons, right, you're talking about who the Falcons could play if they won the NFC South. assuming they get in as a division winner, I guess they could still get in as a wild card. But if they win this division, they're going to play the team that doesn't win the NFC East,
right?
Which is a good
Which
team.
is Dallas.
Which
right
is,
now, it looks like Dallas is going to. Dallas is 9-3, and the rest of the runner-ups are 6-6. So catching Dallas right now, even if Dallas does lose those 4 games, Tony, catching up with Dallas right now is going to be rough. So it looks like if Atlanta keeps themselves in the playoff picture, Atlanta stays atop the NFC South. Why do I keep saying AFC? Keep staying on top of the NFC South.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Falcons-Cowboys playoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah.
That's the way it lines up right now.
Yeah, and I think that would not – I mean, look, I think it would be great if the Falcons are in the playoffs against anybody, especially at home. Getting a home it would be the first home playoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I think, right? They haven't played a home. No, they have not played a home
game there.
They have not played a playoff game there yet.
No,
so that would be awesome. But there's gonna be a lot of Cowboys fans there.
Oh yeah.
So and if they play the Eagles, there'd be a lot of Eagles fans. I would
will be sure. Mad Mike is on today.
Mad Mike is here. He's got a Justin Fields question for you. Or actually, no, it's not a question. He's saying he will be traded.
Yeah. Will Fields be traded? No, he's saying will.
Will, yeah. Exclamation points. No question marks. Exclamation.
As I say, Mike, it's half of Chicago wants to see Fields stay and get a better chance with a different offensive coordinator, different head coach, and half of Chicago is done with him and thinks he should be traded, and because he has folded in some fourth quarter moments where he has not come through, where he's had the opportunity to. So that's been a problem. And I don't know how the Bears are going to evaluate him. I really don't. I have no read on the situation. The Bears are being very quiet about what they think about Justin Fields, and Ryan Poles and new team president Kevin Warren have been playing it very close to the vest as far as how this. I think they want to see how these last 5 games go too.
Yeah.
It's early. So.
And that's what I've been. I think that's kind of the overall theme of the show maybe today is we want to. At this point in the season, we're already looking at the new year. It's Christmas time, and we're a couple of weeks away from 2024. We're already thinking about the 2024 draft. And guys, I mean, the next 5 games are greatly going to impact what happens to Ritter, what happens to Justin Fields, what happens to all of these guys. And the speculation's fun, but the fact is we got to play these 5 weeks.
Yeah, and as I say, it's going to be rough if the Falcons do make the playoffs, if they have their playoff run, which I think they're very capable of doing. As I say, Mad Mike, I saw your short video about Ritter and his fourth quarter, how he comes through in the fourth quarter. And his fourth quarter stats, he's got 100, what did you say, Mad Mike, 102 passer rating in the fourth quarter. It was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I got it here from Pro Football Reference. His quarterback rating in the fourth quarter, 98.2.
Okay. So.
Yeah, he averages 9.3 yards per attempt in the fourth quarter. In the first 3 quarters, in none of those first 3 quarters does he average more than 6.2 per attempt.
Yeah. So, it's I want to see him do better. I want to see him extend that and be able to get up on teams. I know it's great watching a quarterback who can make fourth quarter comebacks, especially with, the way Ritter has this season, but I'd rather be out to a comfortable lead. Give me a comfortable lead where I can kick back and have a beer in the fourth quarter and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean the quarterback rating is very good, partly because he's not thrown as many interceptions in the fourth quarter as maybe those other quarters. The yards per attempt I referenced, I wonder if they're taking more risks, throwing more deep passes because they're behind in games, maybe in the fourth quarter as opposed to earlier in the game. They're not as aggressive. But actually, I don't know if that's as big of a negative on Ritter as it is on maybe the play calling of look at his fourth quarter numbers, what the plays that you're calling deep shots downfield or the yards after catch are working in the fourth quarter for our offense. They're clearly not working in the first three quarters because the offense, the yards per pass attempt for Ritter is 3 yards less.
Yeah. Yeah. And
he's not throwing those interceptions that maybe you're concerned about him throwing and why you're not taking risks or deep shots until you really need to. Even when he really needs to, and the other team knows that the deep shots and the passing are coming, he's actually not throwing those picks in the fourth quarter in those situations.
Right. Well, and this is the problem I had with Ritter early in the season was his yards per attempt were terrible because he was checking down all the time. And as I say, after the first 4 games of the season, I think Bijan Robinson was tied for the lead on the Falcons with targets, and was disappointing. And at that time, I wanted to see Ritter go do more with London and with Pitts and go downfield a little bit more. He started doing that. Now, how much of this is part of the game plan? How much isn't? I know they want to get Bijan Robinson more involved. I think they've been trying to get him more involved, both running and passing the last couple of weeks. They took a lot of criticism for not having Bijan Robinson, for giving too many carries to Tyler Algier. They took a lot of criticism for that through the first half of the season. So, it's rough because you want a quarterback. You don't want him to try and force things. So is it the plays that Arthur Smith is calling in the first 3 quarters? Is it, or is it the fact that Ritter, maybe the adrenaline just doesn't get flowing for Ritter until, he's really got to come through in the fourth quarter. What is it?
I think they have to answer what it is over the next 5 weeks. As
yes, they do.
Mad Mike is saying here, quite a few quarterbacks will be evaluated over the next 5 weeks, and he included Ritter in his list. He didn't have a list for us, but he says including Ritter. Here.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, he hasn't been consistent. But as I say, throw out the Jets game because the Jets are a tough beat for any. The Jets defense is a tough beat for anybody. So don't sweat that Jets game as much as I think some fans are. But yeah, we do have to see more out of Ritter. I want to see more out of Ritter tomorrow, against Tampa. I want to see him throwing deep. I want to see them put Tampa down. Tampa's going to be a tough team to keep down because of their receivers. And Mayfield's been throwing quite a bit to Mike Evans lately.
Yeah.
So, and Evans is damn good. I think it's good that A.J. Terrell and Jeff Okudah, from what I've seen, are going to play tomorrow. Because it's you got to have a secondary. I'm not as worried about David Onyemata being out.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay couldn't run the ball against, Appalachian State at New York. Yeah. They couldn't run the ball against a hyphen school, let alone a real NFL defense. So,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, having Okudah and having Terrell back is going to be solid. It's going to be a big necessary thing for the Falcons tomorrow. And I think that makes the Falcons stronger as far as what I think they can do tomorrow. But their defense is tough. But they say last time the Falcons faced the Bucs, they should have blown them out. That was a blowout game.
Right.
the Falcons dominated everything. But Ritter's fumbles was the difference between them squeaking out a 16-13 win and winning that game like 30-13. So, I want to see, Ritter's been carrying the ball a lot more securely lately, so I don't think he's going to be fumbling as much. But yeah, we're going to have to see how he does with turnovers, with interceptions. But I still think Ritter is very accurate when he can throw the ball on the line to somebody. I think he's very good at making reads too. And sometimes reading defenses is tough for a rookie or a young quarterback. But I think he makes good reads. So but yeah, you got to see more production out of him. Like I'm looking for more production out of Justin Fields. I got to see better. I got to see more passing yards. I got to see him hook up with his receivers better. I got to see more points on the scoreboard. All right, because that's where it all goes. You can, I said a couple of weeks ago, you can gain all the yards you want.
Yeah.
If you're not putting points on the scoreboard, yards don't go on the scoreboard. You got to turn those yards into points.
It's true. That's true. Brian is here. Hey, Brian.
Right.
And he's pushing back on your narrative about the Buccaneers not being able to run. And yeah, I double checked. Rashard White does have 184 rushing yards the last 2 weeks.
3.7 rushing yards per attempt. I'm not sold on him. He gets a lot of volume, but he's not very effective per rush. So, if you're carrying the ball, a few hundred times, yeah, you're going to get a lot of rushing yards. How many times has he carried the ball this year?
Well, the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 5.3 yards per carry.
All right. Well, he's picking it up then.
But yeah, for the season, he's under. I think he's at
season. He's still under 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think the Falcons are a better team than the Buccaneers. As I said, I'm not sold on Baker Mayfield anymore. Baker is. I'm not going back there. I did after the first couple of games this season. I'm not going back there anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he can't win this week, though. I guess is all I would say. And Brian is a little pessimistic today. He's saying this is the kind of game the Falcons normally lose.
Yeah, it's the kind of game they've lost the last couple of since their Super Bowl season. They've been struggling since they played New England in the Super Bowl. So yeah, this is a game they've habitually lost. But that comes down to learning how to win. And winning is a habit. And having faith in yourself when you either get down or you're having a tough game.
Well, and speaking of history, they're going to honor the 1998 Falcons team tomorrow.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So I always like to see a team keep in touch with their past. I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing I'm a big student of NFL history. So I love to see a team, reach back into its past, keep touch with its players. The Bears having a Bears alumni associate, group that's strong, with players that have worn the navy blue and orange. So yeah, you do want to see them. That's going to be fun to see. So 1998 group. God.
Yeah, 25-year anniversary of their first trip to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. Chandler, who else was it?
Jamal Anderson.
Jamal Anderson, right.
Yeah.
Was an all-pro that year. Played pretty damn good. So there's a lot of good receivers. I've been looked back on that page. Oh, I would have assumed Terrence Mathis is going to be there. So
yeah, it'd be good to see them all.
So yeah, I like that. I like that they're going to do that. I hadn't heard that. So, but again, that's another reason for Mercedes-Benz Stadium to be rocking.
It's true. Yes, absolutely.
Don't let Buccaneers fans buy up the tickets. Use your tickets. Get out there and support this team. Show them that you believe in them. That makes a big difference for a team too. They love it when the fans are getting loud and getting raucous and in their corner. And that can also help with winning. Learn how to win. The Falcons have to learn how to win. And this is a great opportunity for it. They won last week despite having a very rough game. That's a good thing, actually. Because they've learned that they can win. They don't have to be at their best, and they can still win. But, now you've got to – I still want to see them lay it out one of these weeks where they just completely bust on somebody. And, this would be a great week for it. Knock the Buccaneers down and don't let them get up. Put your foot on their throat. And I think this is a team that can do it.
Tony asks, why hasn't D'Angelo Malone played more this season? The young man has undeniable talent. Is it possible he's not doing well on the practice field? And Mad Mike had an answer for us. Find that comment. Yeah, Tony, it's clear to me Malone will play when he's developing properly.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some time to get these, you see flashes from these early, young players, but sometimes it takes a little time for them to get the instincts, especially at linebacker. There's a lot of things you have to learn at linebacker. Holding the edge, knowing when you can go after a guy, knowing when you got to stay on your assignment. And it's, these are probably things that D'Angelo Malone is still having problems picking up in practice. But yeah, don't worry. I think Malone's going to be out there. So definitely.
Kevin O'Connell has a great point about that 98 team. I think when talking about that team, maybe not necessarily in Atlanta, but nationally, I think people are like, oh, it was the team that upset the juggernaut that the Minnesota Vikings were, and they kind of robbed us of this great Super Bowl matchup of Vikings versus Broncos. And instead we got the Falcons Broncos, and the Broncos just, steamrolled them. But that's really not an accurate narrative, because the Falcons were really good that year. They were 14-2. And yes, the Vikings were 15-1, and everybody anointed them, at least NFC champions, and see if they could knock off the defending champion Broncos. And that would have been a great Super Bowl. But the Falcons earned that trip to the Super Bowl. They were 14-2 and won a road game when they were down 10 points in the fourth quarter against that great Vikings team.
Yeah. So don't sell that team short. As I say, once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. So, yeah, we've seen teams that the national media is anointed as, the Super Bowl team. Well, everybody's anointed San Francisco this year. That still remains to be seen if they can get through a playoffs run successfully, because they haven't yet. And they've had some pretty good teams. So, yeah, Dan Reeves,
Yeah.
Coach, but.
Well, I was going to ask, are the Falcons or Buccaneers on your picks against the spread?
No, not this week. They're too close to each other.
Okay.
Too variable.
So who do you got for us in your spread picks?
Is it that time already?
My
God. Where did the time go?
I'm going to have to install a big red clock in front of your computer.
You're going to have to.
Yeah. Yep. I'm coming over. We're going to go to a Bears game when I visit again. And before they build some stadium out in the middle of nowhere and put a dome on the place, I'm going to hate it. I got to get Soldier Field, And while I'm there, I'm going to put a big red clock on your laptop.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to. Yeah, Kelvin O'Connor, Bud Dupree is playing very well and not getting a lot of notice about it. But yes, Bud Dupree is playing very well. I wanted to get that comment out there. Let's recognize guys who are really going that extra mile that maybe the national media doesn't notice, that are really coming through for this team. It's been rough this week as far as picks. I've been looking through these picks. I have a lot of good straight up picks, but anybody can pick straight up. My grandmother picks straight up. So pick who's going to win or lose, and everybody's good at that. Picking against the spread is another thing.
Yeah,
I got all three right last week. So,
I'm 126 and 68 straight up this year.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty damn good, yes.
Thomas, the 6-month-old, he's 116 and 78. That's pretty good.
Wow.
He just picks the teams that I think he's going to end up liking. So
hey.
He always picks the Steelers. He always picks the Broncos, my wife's team. He always picks the Falcons. Always picks against the Saints. And he's 116 and 78.
I'm telling you, the kid's a natural.
Against the spread, though.
He's got the right name, too.
Right, yeah, he does have the right name. He's against the spread, I'm 99 and 95. So that's what almost 30-game difference versus the spread versus picking straight up.
Yeah, it's
I was trying to support your point that it's a lot harder.
It's definitely tougher because I've had games where I've had the correct pick going down to the final minute, and something happens and you lose out on the pick. And I've seen a lot of people that I read for their picks, and everybody's having a rough season this year. It is not an easy season across the board for writers who make picks on other websites, that a lot of them are not doing well because this has been a very tough NFL year to nail down. You got 9 backup quarterbacks starting this week. Going back to our earlier point about having a solid backup quarterback on your team. You had 9 backups starting this week.
Is that just Sunday, or does that count Thursday too? Because we had 2 on Thursday.
That's true. Does that count? I don't know. I just read the number 9 in week. I think 9 for week 13. That probably counts for Thursday too.
Okay. Yeah.
Steelers got Trubisky last week. So
I was hoping we could go the whole show without talking about the Steelers. We made it 48 minutes.
Oh man. I thought they were going to win that game going away. Really did. But
I'm glad that they probably would have been on your picks against the spread this morning.
Would have been.
And thankfully that game already happened, so you didn't get it wrong.
I like the Baltimore Ravens giving 7.5 points. I hate that half-point kicker, especially when you're at a touchdown. 6.5 and 7.5 are rough picks. But again, the Rams are hot, but they do not play well against teams that are above 500. They're 1-4 against teams that are above 500. Matthew Stafford in his career with the Lions and the Rams has not played well. I think he's like about 30% winning percentage against teams that are above 500. Does not play well against them. He's a bum beater. He'll beat the bottom teams. He'll beat the bottom dwellers. But he does not play well against winning teams. So, I know he won a Super Bowl, but overall, he doesn't play well against winning teams over the course of his career. And I think that was the first playoff games he had ever won, was with the Rams that season.
I think so. Well, yeah, because the Lions haven't won a playoff game since 1993. So.
Right. And the Lions have made a couple of playoffs with Stafford, and he
didn't
win in the first round.
Yeah, and that was Stafford's first season with the Rams. So that was his first playoff experience, first playoff win experience.
Yes, first playoff win experience.
Yeah.
So Baltimore, I like 7.5. Baltimore's number 2 in my power rankings this week. They are playing. They're wiping away a lot of teams. I like what Baltimore's doing. They are a definite Super Bowl contender this year.
Yeah.
So another coach just doesn't get a lot of attention. John Harbaugh seems to have that team, and Eric DeCastro as general manager. Took over from Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome was a hell of a general manager. Knew how to put a team together. And Eric DeCastro learned a lot from him and has kept things sailing forward. And I like this Baltimore Ravens team. So
I mean,
7.5.
Yeah, I like that pick too. And as far as John Harbaugh, it looked like there at the end of Joe Flacco's career that Harbaugh was on the hot seat there for a minute, but turned to Lamar Jackson and everything's been fixed. It's amazing how good you can look when you can figure out everything except the quarterback. You need that natural, talented, good decision-making, clutch quarterback play, no matter how good of a coach you are. And when you have it, you can figure out everything else. You're seeing that with Bill Belichick right now. When you don't have it, you look really bad.
Yeah, looks terrible. So, yeah, Tony Wright, man, he's just trash talking. I'm telling you. I love it. Yeah. Oh, both ways what they do and it's who they are. Yeah. Let's see if Jesse Bates gets any picks this week.
That would be nice.
I would love that. I'm taking the Colts. They're underdogs on the road against Cincinnati. They're getting 1.5 points. I just don't think Cincinnati they're not consistent enough for me and not good enough on defense for me. And I think the Colts are playing over their heads. I think, but they're
got a Bengals fan producing the show.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. But the Colts are 3-3 against 500 teams, plus 500 teams. Colts seem to find a way to win, and that's gets back to what I'm saying, that winning is a habit. And even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, they've been finding ways to win. And some of those wins have been pretty.
There's a lot of good coaches of the year candidates this season. Yeah. Shane Steichen's right at the top of that.
Oh, sure he is. Absolutely. So, yeah, you have to count Shane Steichen in that group. Got to count Houston in that group too. I mean,
sure.
They've done a great job down there. Well, they got C.J. Stroud and Mario Williams. Traded up to get Mario Williams after C.J. Stroud. That was bold. But I'm telling you, that move is paying off big time.
Yeah.
You talk about being bold as a general manager. That was crazy. But I think they got the one rookie quarterback who is definitely an NFL quarterback in C.J. Stroud.
And you meant Will Anderson trading up for.
Will Anderson.
Yeah.
God.
Not Mario Williams, who they drafted in 2005.
Yeah, I know. David's coming.
That's okay. I'm here for the time and your occasional misspeaks. That's why I'm
here. Yeah. So I do like the Colts getting the 1.5 against Cincinnati at Cincinnati. Because, again, the Colts have been a quality team. They found ways to win. And Cincinnati, I think, without Joe Burrow, I think it's just a struggling team. It's a good team as far as their receivers. Yeah. But
people are overreacting to that Monday night game where they won.
Yeah. And that happens a lot, too. People overreact and underreact. Or you can't overreact to how a team has played the week before.
Right.
There's a consistency throughout the season. So I like the Colts. I was thinking of taking the Cleveland Browns, considering since Trevor Lawrence is out this week. Cleveland Browns are giving 3 points at home. C.J. Beathard is going to be their quarterback. And, man,
He's calling me a troll.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh. So I like, Javon Hargraves is, I knew he was going to be top of the list this year. I think he made that Philadelphia defense go, and I think they've hurt not having Hargraves in there this year. So, I've been thinking about Colts -3 over the Jaguars against C.J. Beathard is going to be quarterbacking. I think Charlie Kirk is going to be out. But Kirk is going to be out too.
Yeah, Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk. Yes, Trevor Lawrence has been rolled out. So C.J. Beathard will be quarterbacking this week. So it's Cleveland's defense is just so damn good.
They are good. Very good. Yeah.
I know they struggled last week, but man, that defense is so damn good that I think that team, and even with Lawrence in there, I haven't been completely sold on the Jaguars this year. I think at home in Cleveland, I would take that -3. So you got Cleveland, you got the Ravens, and you got the Colts. Colts are the underdog this week that I think come up and win.
So there you go. I like all three of those picks. You got the Colts on the road. You had the Browns at home, and then the Ravens at home.
Yep, absolutely.
I like it.
So there you go. I was perfect last week. So get them this week. There they are, right there for you.
We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Today was brought to you by Prize Picks. If you haven't gotten started, it's not too late. Download the app. Use our promo code ASU to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. And I don't have any Prize Picks for you today. I was hoping to grab Sam Howell again, Tom, but Washington on the bye week can't get Sam Howell over the passing attempts.
Right.
But what do you got for us in the Prize Picks?
I got a couple of receiving yard picks. I got Alvin Kamara for the Saints at 35.5 receiving yards. That offense has been running through Kamara. So Chris Olave, I know, has been lighting the field up for the Saints, but Kamara's been doing a lot of damage through the air as well as on the ground. So I like 35.5 receiving yards. Jordan Anderson with the Minnesota Vikings, 33.5 receiving yards. I still like that. Jordan Anderson has been a find for the Vikings this year and been very consistent. Rushing yards. I got a good one for you for rushing yards. Josh Allen against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh.
Josh Allen has not failed to rush for less than 40 yards in 5 games against Kansas City. What, Anderson? I said Anderson, didn't I? Did I say Jordan Anderson?
I thought you did, but
yeah, I thought I did. Josh Allen, the only time he failed to rush for over 40 yards against the Chiefs was because he took 2 extended kneel downs, lost 8 yards off his rushing total, and fell below. So, Josh Allen likes to run against the Chiefs. Josh Allen plays well against the Chiefs. 33.5 rushing yards. I think that's very makeable for a quarterback who likes to run. So
yeah, I like that. Yeah. We see Allen, it drives me nuts because, partially because I got James Cook on my fantasy team, but but also I just think, Allen's got to protect himself better, and the Bills need to have a traditional running game to really be, I think, a serious Super Bowl contender. So, but in terms of having Allen on your fantasy team or making a prop entry with him, I think that's great to have him as a prop bet.
These Bills are so good, and I don't get why they're 6-6 right now. I really don't.
Well, I think there's got to be something wrong internally, but I haven't watched enough of their games to really say, to be honest. But
Yeah,
I know they have tremendous talent, obviously. But we'll see. They have a tough schedule going forward. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs in the
it's going
really
to be rough.
difficult AFC.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. So, but Allen likes to play a bit against Patrick Mahomes. So we'll see this week. I think I'd give the Bills a chance to win this week. So that's just me, though. George Kittle versus Seattle, Justin Herbert. Okay, Tony Wright sounds like he has prize picks.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So Tony says he's got George Kittle. Are you taking his receiving or receptions total? And then you've got also Justin Herbert, assuming passing yards against
Probably passing yards.
Denver Broncos. And I'm assuming both of these you want the overs on, Tony. And
yeah,
Brian,
it's tough to pick unders. Really.
Yeah, it's no fun taking the unders. You're rooting for that player not to do well, unless you're picking a player you don't like, I guess. Brian says McDermott is going to lose his job in Buffalo. I think that very well could happen.
That very well could happen, yes,
yeah.
Ryan. Because they put together a hell of a team, and they're underperforming this year.
Yeah.
And the window might be closing a little bit on them. It depends on what they do in the offseason. But they're still a quality team.
This might not matter at all in terms of his job security, but did you see that story about the 9/11 thing with McDermott?
No.
There was some kind of former players were saying, had a story that shared with ESPN that a couple years ago, I think it was maybe 2020, a couple years ago, to try and bring the team together. An analogy that McDermott used was the terrorists that came together to attack the United States on 9/11. That was the analogy that he used. Some players, lots of, I don't know, I don't want to get this wrong, but I know more than one former player has corroborated with the story with ESPN. Enough to they reported the story. Then other players have come forward and said they don't remember that story. I think McDermott, though, had to make a statement about that situation. Brian's telling me it was 2019. Okay, it was 2019 this happened. So just really odd. And I don't think this is going to get him fired or anything, but like, really? Like, that was just like really in poor taste to do something like that. And not a fireable offense, but like change my opinion about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I'll have to look back on that and read about it because that's just I don't even want to go there. It's just
you can't react to it in real time.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
But I still think the Bills brass probably still think this is a playoff team, and they're just underperforming. They're fourth in my statistical power rankings. As far as what they've done on both sides of the ball, they've been a damn good team. They just haven't produced victories. And some of that goes back to coaching. So, it is rough. I agree with you, Brian. I think he's failing this year, and I think he's going to pay for it.
And Todd bringing up the point that
Brian Daboll, right?
Yeah, right. Lost the offensive coordinator. Maybe he was the real one behind their great success a couple years ago.
Yeah, because you can't count Brian Daboll this year against what the Giants are doing. Because Brian Daboll, when you're starting Tommy DeVito,
hey, former Syracuse quarterback. Yeah, I think that says it right there. If you're starting a Syracuse quarterback, you're not going to win.
You're not going to be very successful. So anything that happens to the Giants this year, and Brian Daboll as a head coach, I'm not counting. Just doesn't. I don't think Jones is a great quarterback. Jones ought to be giving Daboll a part of that contract every year because Daboll made Jones look damn good last year. But you know, it's just not a good team. And I think Dable's done about everything you can do with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Brian says DeVito's won 2 games. That's true.
Yeah, he has.
That's true.
It is true. And that might be, again, the thing you say, oh, hey, Brian Dable's got 2 victories out of Tommy DeVito.
Right.
What else do you want?
Well, we got to sign off. Our hour is up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy week 14. Hope you have some luck with your picks against the spread and prize picks.
Is it week 13?
It's week 14.
It's week 14. Yeah, that's right. It is week 14. Damn. What the hell?
Yeah, we're moving right along.
This has just been a ridiculous football season. Yeah. So support the Bucks. Support the Falcons. Don't let the Bucks fans buy your tickets. Get out there. Get out to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Support those guys. Have that joint jumping tomorrow. And, let's root the Falcons home and see them go above 500 and solidify that playoff spot a little bit.
Absolutely. Get a little lead in the NFC South.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us, everyone. As always, we appreciate you being here with us, and have a great week, everybody.